everyone, Novels Wonderland here. Thank you all for the love and support you've shown me and the channel.
This life of yours was ruined by games. Chapters 66 to 81 plus launch notes. Chapter 66, Infinity Castle. 2017 characters August 23, 2025. Chun-Li browsed a few more posts about newly unlocked in-dungeon abilities and discovered an interesting mechanic in exploration-type dungeons. As everyone knew, deep-sea collisions were collisions between worldviews. The main world Chun-Li inhabited cast a high-dimensional projection into other worlds. Players were the tentacles of that projection. The further the tentacles reached, the deeper the exploration, the more complete the projection became. Generally, the first players into a dungeon had access to the most shallow power systems. Only when they discovered new things and filled out the worldview did the power systems expand. Take Infinity Castle. Demon blood arts hadn't been available in the initial gear selection, because no player had encountered a demon yet. A projection couldn't simulate what it had never seen. This made sense. In Demon Slayer, if you could only buy breathing styles and sun-breathing blades, the options were genuinely limited. An untrained swordsman was essentially two side dishes for the demons. Someone would surely argue, buy sun-breathing, and you'd be devastatingly effective. Sun-breathing and Muzan Kibutsuji's blood were almost certainly dungeon-unique items, things the projection could simulate everything except. Unique power from another world was the one thing it couldn't replicate. So no sun-breathing. The derivative breathing styles were available in full, though. If it were only breathing styles, Chun-Li absolutely wouldn't enter this dungeon. The Infinity Castle featured Upper Moon 3 Akaza as a stat wall boss, Upper Moon 2 Doma as a mechanic boss, and Upper Moon 1 Kokoshibo as both absurdly discouraging. But demon blood arts that changed everything. Even the most basic blood demon art was a pure mechanic. Even the comparatively weak Genya Shinazugawa could use a fragment of Upper Moon 1 Kokoshibo's blood demon art to damage him. So blood demon arts were good. And if you could specifically select which one, the options multiplied dramatically. In an instant, Chun-Li thought of no fewer than 10 ways to profit from the Infinity Castle dungeon. And this time would definitely be a major haul. Chun-Li's thoughts ignited. He leapt from his chair, ran to his room in 2 steps, stripped off the clothes he'd just put on, and dove into the deep-sea fish tank. Awareness faded. Penguin Island approached. Due to the ghost encounter incident, a queue of penguins had already formed before the Infinity Castle vortex, one by one waiting to dive. Chun-Li joined the queue, waited 5 minutes, got his turn, and went in head first. Infinity Castle, Entry Gear Phase. Entry cost, 50,000 yuan. Current game items, none. Q coin balance, 500,000 yuan. He checked his reassuring balance and immediately opened the item list, penguin hands rubbing together. He already knew exactly what he wanted. Inosuke's markings, unawakened burns lifespan to generate extreme power. Bearer's lifespan won't exceed 25 years. Value, 500,000 yuan. A transparent world, unawakened supreme domain perception. Bearer can conceal battle intent and killing intent, enhancing combat and evasion. Value, 800,000 yuan. A moon breathing, a lost breathing style. Extremely close to the source breathing. Value, 300,000 yuan. The sheer volume of gear items was dizzying. If money were no object, a player could effectively build themselves into a budget version of Yorichi Tsujikuni. But that was pointless. No matter how powerful the build, it'd be missing in a month. Players needed cost efficiency, not pure account strength. Besides, both Inosuke's markings and Transparent World were in unawakened state. A player who bought them would only have the potential to unlock them, which made sense. Both were mindset-based powers. If your mental state wasn't there, they simply wouldn't activate. Poor soul who'd buy something like that. Chun-Li skipped both top-tier gear pieces, skipped Moon Breathing 2, and scrolled further down. Blood Demon Art, Harrow, Blood Demon Art, Daki, Blood Demon Art, Hand Demon. Demon abilities were multiplying further down the list. Chun-Li scrolled urgently. He was hunting for one specific art. After flipping through over 10 pages, he found it. Blood Demon Art, Nakheim, a blood demon art capable of pulling designated people into the user's world. Value, 200,000 yuan. That's the one. Chen Lai's excitement was uncontrollable. As expected, wherever a specific demon's ability appeared in the selection, Nakheim's would be there. And her ability was literally what gave Infinity Castle its name. With it, he could perform all manner of operations within the Infinity Castle, obtaining whatever he wanted, and possibly even displacing the dungeon's power source, Musen Kibutsuji, directly. I want this. Blood Demon Art, Nakheim. Without a second thought, Chen Lai purchased it. A red light burrowed out of the vortex and settled into his body. Entry requirements met. Confirm entry. Review remaining gear. The countdown stopped. Back to the gear interface. Nakheim's blood demon art alone wasn't sufficient, he needed allies, possibly other items. Demons naturally strengthened by consuming humans. If he only bought the blood demon art and hadn't eaten anyone, how large could his Infinity Castle range even be? He was planning a major haul from this dungeon. That meant major investment, full preparation, no margin for error. He continued reviewing gear. A rough plan had formed. This dungeon wasn't something he could run solo. He'd need accomplices. I also want these 200 humans meal and wisteria recovery drug. He found 2 more items. The former would enhance his demon side abilities. The latter was the drug developed by Lady Tamayo that could restore a demon to human form. 100 humans meal cost 100,000 yuan. 1,000 humans meal, rare blood, was 1,000,000, a gap so extreme Chen Lai couldn't afford it anyway. Wisteria recovery drug was cheap at 50,000 apiece. He bought 2 for emergencies, maybe for plot characters, maybe for himself. Depended on the situation. Entry requirements met. Confirm entry. The vortex called again. Chen Lai declined, chose to log out, and opened the chat interface. Great Heavenly Dragon, Fiend Tiger, want to go for a big haul. Great Heavenly Dragon, Zhang Long, when can you evacuate? I have a dungeon with a very high return rate. Are you in? He called on the friends he'd gotten to know in the game, people whose character he trusted, and invited them to run Infinity Castle together for something great. Chapter 67, I Have a Plan. 2083 characters August 23, 2025 People say, 1 man is a comma, 2 men are a colon, but 3 men together produce an exclamation mark. Absolutely true. 3 heads together always produce the idea king. Now that Chen Lai, Zhang Long, and Fiend Tiger were all assembled, an exclamation mark was indeed forming over Chen Lai's head. He immediately created a group chat called Infinity Castle Gold Digging Squad, and began urgently pressuring the other 2 to evacuate their current dungeons. The auditorium's absolute Fiend Tiger, stop pushing, brother Wei Long. I've got the pedal to the metal, evacuating in 2 days max reincarnated dump truck. I'm in the middle of urban warfare in Moscow. The Prosen men ate 1 nuclear bomb from you and completely lost steam. This offensive is a breeze, give me a few more days. Waiting to evacuate with an assault drug. Otherwise I won't have money to buy gear. Looking at their progress, Chen Lai felt it was about right. The current state of the Infinity Castle dungeon was this: players had discovered demons, but hadn't found Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. Demons were still rampaging across Japan's islands. All signs indicated Musen hadn't made his move yet, because when Nakheim activated the Infinity Castle, all demons would be gathered there to besiege the pillars and core members. Given this situation, Chen Lai wasn't actually in a rush. Infinity Castle, like the Shibuya incident, was a one-night event. Hit the right entry node and things would work out. He stopped pushing the others and only told them to evacuate as soon as possible. Then he began closely monitoring the world exploration progress inside Infinity Castle. That night, while Chen Lai was training martial techniques at home, another demon attack occurred inside the dungeon. This time, a top-tier player who'd purchased moon breathing and several compatible sword forms, Motoyoki Genutaro, slew the demon on the spot. Motoyoki Genutaro. That's a Japanese name. Didn't Japan stop existing? Chunlai wiped sweat, watching the demon-slaying video on his phone. He remembered this player had backed him up during the Beautiful Friend incident, so he bore no ill will, purely curiosity. Motoyoki was also apparently a well-known player. The moment news of his entry into Infinity Castle spread, many players followed him in. Deep-sea players lacked the ability to independently explore worlds and pull major loot, but their willingness to steal from fellow players was large. Very large. Whether Motoyoki could pull big gold or red and evacuate, these follow-along players didn't care. They just wanted the moon breathing off his body. Even severely damaged, that was worth 70 or 80,000. Undamaged, a windfall. Honestly, in the gaming novels of his previous life, lower-tier players seemed to hold high-tier players in admiration, goodwill, reverence. How did deep-sea gold diggers turn into hyenas? You were following him into the dungeon just to loot his corpse. Chunlai couldn't hold it together. His understanding of players' chaotic evil nature had become very concrete. Though whether players were evil or not was irrelevant. Chunlai himself wasn't exactly virtuous. What he'd done in the Shibuya incident was comparable. He closed his screen, noted down Motoyoki's name, and reasoned through it. A superplayer like this might affect his plan. Top gear builds put you in the same tier as a pillar. That earned you a seat at the Infinity Castle table. The following day, Motoyoki Genutaro, who'd used moon breathing to slay a demon outside a town, was discovered by a Kasugai crow, and invited to join the Demon Slayer Corps. The organization's structure became clear. Demon Slayer Corps, the name explained itself. A force dedicated to slaying demons. Established under the Ubuyashiki clan, funded and headquartered by this noble family. They trained swordsmen, forged Nichiren blades in hidden villages, supported research for demons like Tamayo who had turned against Muzan. Their ultimate goal, kill Muzan Kibutsuji. Among the swordsmen, the strongest were called pillars. Originally 9. In prior battles, the flame pillar Rengoku Kaijuro had been killed by stat wall boss Akaza, and the sound pillar Yuzui Tengen had been disabled after defeating Upper Moon 6 Jotaro in the entertainment district. He'd withdrawn from combat. 7 active pillars remained. To clear the Infinity Castle, their abilities would need to be fully leveraged, along with the 3-person protagonist group. Since the worldview was gradually being explored by players and the main thread had been found, more and more players were entering to try their luck. On the 3rd day, a post appeared on the forum. A player named Lavenhook had been observing Demon Slayer Corps logistics movements and discovered they were transporting gunpowder. This covert operation naturally attracted player interest. Players equipped themselves with breathing styles and sword forms and joined the Corps. Some particularly abstract players bought blood demon arts, became demons, and also tried to join the Corps, only to be decapitated by a pillar on the way to the Ubuyashiki estate. As expected of deep-sea players. Always producing new variations. On this same day, Fiend Tiger evacuated from his dungeon. He said his available capital was about 200,000 yuan, stream revenue. Reasonable enough. Even with full confidence in Chunlai's ability, he wasn't putting his principal into a game. Chunlai thought carefully and had him buy Thunder Breathing plus Form 1, Thunderclap and Flash, 100,000 yuan total, within his range. In truth, Demon Blood and Breathing styles could stack, but there was no need yet. In Chunlai's subsequent design, Fiend Tiger would be the striker. Demon Blood was definitely planned for him, just not right now. On the 4th day, snow began falling over the Ubuyashiki estate. Normal weather to most players, but Chunlai's alert level rose. Muzan Kibutsuji had launched his surprise attack on the Ubuyashiki estate on a snowy night. The current head Ubuyashiki Kagaya had detonated the estate with explosives, bringing both himself and Muzan down together. This snow is a sign. The Infinity Castle arc is imminent. At the same time, Zhang Long evacuated from GoldenEye War, bringing 320,000 yuan. The Moscow urban battle had been intense, a full regiment cycled every 3 hours, all coming out as shattered remnants. His words, without spirit speech, sickle weasel, he wouldn't have come back alive. Infinity Castle gold-digging squad was complete. Zhang Long asked Chen Lai what his plan was. Chen Lai gave a cryptic nod. I do have a plan. A golden plan that will have us eating well, drinking well, and evacuating fat. Chapter 68, The Opening 2050 Characters August 24, 2025, Listen up. Here's my thinking. Zhang Long, I need you to buy Blood Demon Art, Enmu, and the 100 Humans meal ability. Fiend Tiger has already bought Thunder Breathing. He'll be the key to our first snowball push. Win the first fight, and everything after gets easier. Chen Lai tapped his temple. He only told them what to buy, not why. Zhang Long's Blood Demon Art, Enmu, had appeared in the Mugen Train film. It was the Blood Demon Art of Lower Moon 1. Mechanically broken, it forced others into deep sleep and showed them what they cherished most in the world, making them unwilling to wake. As for why he wanted this art, Chen Lai could only say, he had a plan. Fiend Tiger's Thunder Breathing and Thunderclap and Flash were easy to explain. He was the striker. Both Chen Lai and Zhang Long were mechanic players. Their raw combat effectiveness was limited. They needed a fighter. And Fiend Tiger was the lead for the first round. Zhang Long and Fiend Tiger didn't fully understand, but overall they trusted Chen Lai. A gold digger who could carry big red loot out from over 20,000 players in the Shibuya incident wasn't a fool. If he said he had a plan, trust first. So they both slowly nodded, signaling they understood. When do we enter? The first snowfall has already started. After entering, Zhang Long comes to link up with me. Fiend Tiger goes directly to the Ubuyashiki estate. Whatever that eyeless, scarred patriarch does, you report everything to me. Understood. Understood. Both nodded. They didn't actually understand a single thing, and didn't dare ask what Chen Lai knew. Then in we go. Chen Lai nodded slowly. His small penguin body cast a surprisingly tall shadow in the sunlight. He had a white cloth tied around his head reading, "Make money." His eyes burned with fighting spirit. He was like an old Qin who'd known poverty too long. Previous dungeons had always ended up short on money, because of insufficient planning and cautious thinking. This time, he was going to make a real haul. 3 penguins waddled together toward the Infinity Castle vortex. 3 splash sounds. The stirring gear music played in their ears. Entry requirements met. Confirm entry. Chen Lai took a deep breath. Taisho Year 13, January 18, 9:32 a.m., Tono Village awareness faded. When it returned, Chen Lai was standing in a vast white snowfield. The sun hung high overhead. He stood in the shadow of a forest. Cold air swept through the trees. Ahead was a hillside with what appeared to be houses at the top. Chen Lai was holding a biwa, and involuntarily drooling. Bought a blood demon art, so naturally I spawned as a demon. Not under Musen's control, but I have all a demon's weaknesses and instincts. Chen Lai sensed his own hunger. His long claws traced a line across his belly, the wound healed before blood could drip. He then checked the Infinity Castle concurrent player count, 4,921. Nearly 5,000 deep-sea players had entered. Among them, professional gold diggers like Motoyoki Genutaro. This game was going to be lively. He'd already read forum analyses of Demon Slayer Core Swordsman, Demons, and Demon Swordsman power levels. Demons were clearly a tier above Swordsman. Apart from being unable to operate in daylight, demons had almost no weaknesses. Humans got injured, bled, died. Even breathing-style swordsmen, as powerful as they were, still suffered and died from severed limbs and broken ribs. Demons were different. Demons healed in seconds. Except for the neck being a weak point, they feared almost nothing: physical constitution, recovery speed, blood demon art mechanics all exceeded swordsmen by a wide margin. As for demon swordsman, player invented. By a breathing style and then a blood demon art, you got a demon's physical constitution plus blood demon art abilities, while still wielding a blade. A hexagon warrior, 0 weaknesses. Its only flaw was the cost, but that was the player's problem, not the build's. The dungeon would contain a small number of demon swordsmen. Players who could afford it should already have pillar-level power just from entry gear. After all, players naturally maximized returns. Whatever had the highest power level, they'd play. Most current players would be running demon builds, a smaller number swordsmen, and a very few rich player demon swordsmen. Which was troubling to think about. Nakeheim's Infinity Castle pulled people indiscriminately. If players were all nearby on the night Musen struck the Ubuyashiki estate, this version of the Infinity Castle battle was going to be absolutely soaked in blood. Even more alarming, you had no idea whose side these deep-sea gold diggers would take. That was the most unsettling thing about players. Trust a player's power. Never trust a player's morality. Chunlai found a large shadow-covered boulder and sat on it, lazily messaging his team. It was daytime, he couldn't travel. Step out of the forest into sunlight and he'd die. Plus a risk of running into swordsmen. Not ideal. After a few messages, Chunlai learned Fiend Tiger and Zhang Long had spawned near each other, not far from the Ubuyashiki estate. Recently, the Demon Slayer Corps had increased security around Ubuyashiki Kagaya, because demon numbers had suddenly spiked. Made sense. Musen had only produced 12 members of his 12 Kazuki over 1,000 years, with all other low-ranked demons too weak to matter. Then players arrived, and the demon population of Japan's islands, especially near the Ubuyashiki estate, jumped to over 1,000. Could any normal person handle that density? Players were still waiting and watching, not yet knowing the patterns for gold and red item drops. Otherwise they'd have moved already. After messaging Fiend Tiger and Zhang Long, Chunlai also opened the forum to study the player-drawn Taisho era map. The Ubuyashiki clan was a powerful Japanese noble family. Their estate sat very close to Heiankyo, modern Kyoto, in a concealed mountain valley. Chunlai's current location, Tono village, was about 100 kilometers away. Far for a human, but for a demon, one night's running would do it. Information gathered and direction confirmed, Chunlai settled back on the boulder to listen to the falling snow in silence. Toji Fushiguro, who'd also entered with him, said nothing either. He was naturally quiet, though following Chunlai's travels everywhere had gradually broadened his perspective. White snow fell into pine forests. Squirrels leaped between trees. A long-haired Chunlai with demonic patterns carved on his face, holding a biwa, sat motionless on the boulder like a meditating Buddha. Suddenly, a rustling sound approached. Droplets of red blood fell onto the pure white snow. The sweet iron scent of blood spread through the forest. Chunlai opened his eyes. Chapter 69, The Fourth Calamity 2127 characters August 24, 2025, what could rightly be called the Fourth Calamity. Chunlai had always found the question hard to answer. But now, looking at what was in front of him, he felt the scene provided a very adequate demonstration. Want some? I'll share a bite. Rattling I dropped a dragged human body in front of Chunlai, grinning with blood-smeared lips. How generous of you. Oh, it's nothing. Did you eat everyone in that village? Chunlai narrowed his eyes. Something felt off. Yep, finished them off. Demons get stronger by eating humans, look at my muscles. Rattling struck a Schwarzenegger-style bodybuilder pose for Chunlai's inspection. Blood dripped from his mouth. The corpse he'd tossed aside was already frozen stiff. How long have you been in this dungeon? 3 days. Unlike you rich types who can afford 100 humans meal, I saved up wages for ages and could only afford 1 demon blood entry kit. Rattling sounded distinctly sour. Chunlai tilted his head, assessing him. This player had clearly entered at minimum gear, 50,000 yuan for demon blood, which gave only baseline demon abilities with no specified blood demon art. A blood demon art would emerge from his own desire. Been here 3 days, ever feel a chill at the back of your neck? Chen-Lai smiled slightly, increasingly at a loss for words. Nobody in this mountain village escaped. The village had tried to run off and send for help yesterday. I got him halfway. I know what you're thinking, the Demon Slayer Corps. I'm very careful. Absolutely no chance they've found me. As he spoke, he stepped closer to Chen-Lai. Chen-Lai could see the bloodshot eyes and the steam rising from his body. Blood demon art boiling blood, even the rat in the gutter, when cornered, should spray scalding blood. Massively increases speed and attack, doubles when the enemy bleeds first. Great heavenly dragon, you didn't buy a combat blood demon art, did you? He grinned, shifting his weight into an attack stance. Chen-Lai calmly nodded. I just knew my luck was turning. A professional gold digger like you, whatever spills off you would feed me for a year. Ratling's eyes blazed red, greed overflowing. You've been standing there quite a while, fond of sunshine. Chen-Lai finally spoke, brushing a biwa string with apparent irrelevance. Ratling blinked, and a black void window appeared at his feet. Before he could react, he dropped through. Blood demon art, Nakheim requires preparation time. After plucking the biwa strings, opens an infinity castle entrance at a designated location. Plucking again can eject the person. In Chen-Lai's estimation, this blood demon art was equivalent to Uchiha Obito's Sharingan technique, Kamui. Ratling, thrown into the infinity castle, hadn't figured out what had happened. He had strength, but in the infinity castle there was nothing to push off against, only endless falling. The so-called infinity castle was a mobile city assembled from stacked attic floors and torii gates. Chen-Lai as the user could freely rearrange the positions and configurations of these structures. He could pull people in and kick people out. In effect, he was the king of this architectural complex. The Chen-Lai outside stood, picked up the biwa, and began cutting down trees at high speed, clearing the patch of ground where Ratling had been standing to let sunlight through. Done, he hopped back onto the boulder and plucked the strings again. Inside the infinity castle, Ratling had just crash-landed onto a warm golden pavilion, when the floor beneath him opened again, and he dropped once more. Wei Long, what the actual hell? He screamed in fury, unable to use any of his overwhelming physical power. His opponent appeared very weak, and yet couldn't be touched no matter what. Ratling was genuinely furious. But he wouldn't be for long. Bright white sunlight sliced down like a giant white spotlight suddenly appearing on the earth. Chen-Lai sat in the shade, watching Ratling emerge once more. Aya weawa. Sunlight hit him. The pain was exquisite. Deep-sea games were criticized for one thing above all else: their pain simulation was extraordinarily realistic. The player's real body suffered no damage at all, but the psychological scars remained. Half of Ratling's face was already scorched black. Another 3 seconds and he'd be dead, gone missing from the dungeon. This is money I saved for ages, no. Ratling went wild, hands shielding his head, scrambling at supernatural speed within the light patch. Just reach the forest. Just get there. At the boundary between light and shadow, Chen-Lai's biwa blocked the path. Chen-Lai, utterly at ease, swung the biwa like a club and hammered Ratling back to the center of the light patch. No mechanics, just stats. You think raw numbers win? No brain, you'll be a lower moon demon for life. Chen-Lai sneered, watching this player be consumed by sunlight, scorched to black fragments that vanished into nothing. After Ratling was eliminated, his blood demon art boiling blood condensed into a single drop of blood. Chen-Lai's spoils. He didn't rush to collect it. The sun was intense right now. Stepping out of the shade would injure him too. Demons belonged to the night. Daytime wasn't their home ground. Deep inside the infinity castle, Muzan Kibutsuji's forehead and face were visibly straining, making his handsome features grotesque. He slammed the table with force, test tubes shattered, drugs spilling everywhere. Why are there so many uncontrolled demons appearing near Kyoto? Is there another demon king in Japan? Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I must overcome my weakness faster. That girl who can appear in sunlight, she is the key. He called his loyal attendant. A biwa note shifted. Nakheim knelt before him. Call Akaza, Doma, the others. Have them find the local demons in the Kyoto area, and get a full account of what's happening. Nakheim said nothing. She simply listened to Musen's voice, heavy with suppressed anger. And the Ubuyashiki estate's location, still not found. His gaze was lethal. If Nakheim's answer wasn't satisfactory, he wouldn't do anything. Upper moons were getting scarce. Nakheim's blood demon art was also important. He couldn't keep casually downsizing. Still searching, Lord Musen. The Ubuyashiki clan keeps relocating their estate, always during daylight hours, which makes demon tracking impossible. Useless rabble. Musen snorted coldly, seething at his subordinates' incompetence. Find them. As for the demons in the Kyoto area, if they have no master, let them swear allegiance to me. I'll give them more power. Chapter 70. A Traitor Among Us. 2130 characters. August 25, 2025. Steam trains. Kerosene lanterns. Chipao kimono and blue work jackets. Samurai with swords at the hip. Police officers with rifles slung on their backs. Ancient and new crashing together in the same wave, giving players a surreal time warp sensation. The player Onigi walked through the night market of Heiankyo carrying a lantern, and wearing a blade, live stream running constantly. He wasn't a dedicated streamer, he wanted to record Taisho Japan as precious historical material. After all, in reality, Japan had been destroyed by the Nurikabe. Many people had lost all memory of the island nation, and needed records to reconstruct its history. His Kasugai crow called urgently several times. In a normal market, it would have been speaking human words. Onigi looked toward where the crow was calling, a small alley, and stopped walking. Crow, is there a demon in the alley? At that moment inside the alley, Prime Soul Awakened was trembling from head to toe. Before him, short red hair cast a cold shadow. The upper three, marking in those eyes, identified him unmistakably. Do you understand what I've said to you? Akaza pressed his knuckles against Prime Soul Awakened's forehead. One word of no, and this demon would be obliterated, body and soul. Prime Soul Awakened was shaking uncontrollably, but not from fear. From excitement. Oh, thank heaven. He'd finally found his people. These past days, swordsman players and the pillars had been hunting demon players everywhere. A demon's physical constitution was stronger, but against pillars and coordinated swordsmen it was still insufficient, especially lacking high-end combat power. They'd been like rats in the gutter, getting beaten everywhere. Now, Lord Musen had come to represent them. I understand completely, Lord Akaza. I'm willing to serve. And I know the answers to all Lord Musen's questions. Prime Soul Awakened nodded and bowed, expression thoroughly ingratiating. A true player could bend when needed. A great man, humble origins are no shame, ability to bend and stand tall is what makes a man. Akaza's expression showed mild surprise. He'd assumed these demons were an organized faction, perhaps Japan had produced another demon king. Turned out they were all wild ones. Then tell me, where is the Ubuyashiki estate right now? I know where the Ubuyashiki family hangs their laundry to dry. Sir, this way. Prime Soul Awakened didn't hesitate for a second. He jumped to the rooftop and pointed directions for Akaza under the moonlight. Akaza hadn't expected this demon to actually know. The way the player carried himself with certainty, he didn't seem to be bluffing. Akaza sensed someone entering the alley. He turned toward the warm-lit night market direction, and narrowed his eyes. Onigi walked in, drew his Nichiren blade, gripped it with his right hand, raised the kerosene lantern a little higher with his left to illuminate what lay ahead, wisps of white breath curling from his lips. "Is anyone there?" he asked loudly. He thought he'd seen a player boarder flash past in the alley. Within 5 days of the demon attack incident, the Kyoto area demon count had spiked to over 3,000. The Demon Slayer Corps had killed a few hundred working themselves ragged, and a large number of demon players were still lurking in the shadows. Onigi was fairly confident in his skill. He'd been playing deep-sea games for several years, making a bit under 200,000 yuan from it, something only competent players could manage. Demon Slayer Corps new swordsman, defenses this week. A young male voice sounded behind Onigi. He then noticed, the lamp at the alley's corner had gone out. Shadow isolated the alley, as if separating two entirely different worlds. Onigi's heart seized. He dropped the lantern, both hands gripped the Nichiren blade, turned, and prepared to release water-breathing Form 3, flowing dance. The next second, Akaza pinched his blade and snapped it. Before he could react, fingers drove into his eye socket, excruciating pain nearly knocked him unconscious. How weak. Hey, that player over there, this swordsman's yours. Their flesh is more nutritious. You understand? I do. Prime Soul awakened, hidden on the rooftop tiles, jumped down laughing, eyes greedy as he looked at the rolling Onigi. He'd bought minimum gear demon blood. Onigi was clearly a more expensive build, having purchased sword forms. If he stripped those equipment items from the other player, even slightly damaged, he'd become a demon swordsman. Prime Soul awakened kicked Onigi in the stomach, flipped him over, and right in front of Akaza, stomped his head flat. Onigi was unambiguously dead. His loot dropped. Water breathing and Form 3, flowing dance condensed into a single drop of blood. Onigi's blood, condensed swordsman's blood containing water breathing and Form 3, flowing dance. Inheritance rate 87%. Below 50% severely damaged, retains only sale value. Akaza looked at this demon outside Muzen's control. A peculiar feeling suddenly arose. Within his destructive death sensing, Prime Soul Awaken's battle intent had jumped markedly, without eating the body on the ground, just absorbing one drop of blood. Prime Soul Awaken's wrist thickened. Arm span lengthened. The whole arm became better shaped for holding a sword. He picked up Onigi's Nichiren blade from the ground, slid it into a scabbard, and hung it at his hip. Do you know swordsmanship? A little. Akaza asked. Prime Soul Awakened replied. Two demons leapt to adjacent rooftops mid-conversation, forms rapidly fading into the distance. Onigi's stream had gone black. Only the wildly jumping comments remained. Classic move, a ninja trader players do contain bad people. Can't even, that was Upper Moon 3 just now, right? I heard the swordsman say Upper Moon 3 is Akaza, that's a pure melee boss. Panicking, I'm at the Ubuyashiki estate in training right now. They're not coming for me, are they? Soon, the forum flooded with similar posts. Muzen was mass recruiting demons across the Kyoto area. 6 demon players and demon swordsmen had been personally received, all accepting Muzen's blood and joining the 12 Kazuki as new members. And Muzen had found the Ubuyashiki estate's location. A player had shown him the way. No need to say more. Every player knew a major battle was imminent. Everyone sharpened their weapons and waited for a signal. At this point, Chunlai had already reached Heiankyo, and linked up with Zhang Longfin Tiger had infiltrated the Ubuyashiki estate, and become a rank E swordsman. Even though Ubuyashiki Kagaya knew these inexplicably appearing swordsmen couldn't be trusted, he accepted them anyway. No choice. The pressure Muzen was exerting was immense. Especially recently, Muzen seemed to have suddenly awakened, creating demons haphazardly across Japan. Demon numbers had grown at an unprecedented rate. If he didn't absorb swordsmen, he'd lose before the battle even started. Chapter 71, The Night of Infinity Castle 2162 characters August 25, 2025 Chunlai and Zhang Long, were now hiding in a mountain cave less than 10 kilometers from the Ubuyashiki estate. Both demons lying flat, reading deep-sea forum analysis on the demon and demon slayer core factions. Honestly, gold diggers had already turned this dungeon into a complete mess. The enormous number of swordsmen and uncoordinated demons fought daily skirmishes. The Infinity Castle hadn't begun yet, but player-on-player combat had already reached a white-hot stage. Not surprising. Players who'd entered at minimum gear as demons wanted breathing-style power. Players who'd bought breathing styles wanted demon power for the upcoming battle's self-preservation. These conflicting desires drove constant clashes. In this chaos, Motoyuki Genutaro stood out conspicuously. He'd first joined the Demon Slayer Corps, then, after learning the composition of Musen's 12 Kazuki, immediately defected. He tracked down Upper Moon 1 Kokoshibo and knelt before him, trading that reverence for the small red item Musen's blood. Musen's blood, unique, trace amount the originating power that transforms humans into demons. Drink it and you will forget the most important thing, becoming a demon who obeys Musen. Value, 250,000 yuan for a player, as long as you obtained a unique item, forget the most important thing. You'd forget floating wood if it meant a unique. So Motoyuki Genutaro drank it without hesitation. He became a demon swordsman. And it didn't stop there. Because he was using moon breathing and its derived sword forms, Kokoshibo assumed he was one of his own descendants, and warmly instructed him, rapidly boosting his power. Within days, Musen elevated this new demon to the Upper Moon 5 position. Apart from Upper Moon 4, the rest are filled. I'd estimate Musen will move soon. Chunlai sat up, rubbing his stomach. If he hadn't bought the 100 humans meal before entering, he'd probably be hungry enough to eat humans by now. But anyone who knew the true nature of deep-sea games had difficulty actually going through with that. Killing for unique items was one thing. Eating people was another matter entirely. What will Musen do? Surround the Ubuyashiki estate with all his demons. Zhang Long found Musen bizarrely cautious for someone wielding supernatural power. The boss gave off an inexplicably timid vibe. Musen held a hand like Fortu's, and a pair of jokers. Ubuyashiki Kagaya was holding scattered low cards. Yet Musen insisted on playing one card at a time, cautiously and carefully, laughably so. With his advantage, just charging in would guarantee a win. What was the hesitation? Not to mention Upper Moon 1 Kokoshibo, players had live-streamed his perspective. Moon breathing's wide area attacks at over 1,000 slashes per second. Sword energy could detonate entire pavilions. Who among the pillars could handle that? Upper Moon 2 Doma, androgynous-looking, sickeningly coquettish, like a cult leader. Players didn't have his intelligence yet, but just from his ranking, everyone knew he wasn't simple. Upper Moon 3 Akaza, the one everyone knew best. A total combat maniac. Loved to fight. 30-plus swordsman players had died to him already, and his technique hadn't even been forced out yet. Any one of these 3 Upper Moon generals could lead a charge and flatten the Ubuyashiki estate. Yet Musen was still holding back, still scheming. Nobody knew what he was waiting for. Facing Zhang Long's confusion, Chunlai just smiled. You haven't lived Musen's life. Of course you'd find it puzzling. Musen had once believed himself invincible, right up until he met a young Yorichi Tsujikuni in his prime, who in the first exchange asked him what he considered the value of life. Then cut him approximately 1,500 times. If Yorichi hadn't been momentarily careless, the self-proclaimed invincible Musen would have gotten his GG screen on the spot. He escaped in shreds, barely 300-plus fragments pieced back together to survive, yet lived the rest of his existence in Yorichi's shadow. For Yorichi's entire lifetime, Musen didn't dare show his face, scurrying like a mouse in hiding, only daring to emerge after Yorichi died of old age. Even after 1,000 years, the fear of Yorichi, the fear of his flame-patterned earrings, was carved into Musen's DNA. So don't call the boss a coward. You get cut 1,500 times, you'd be cautious too. Just as Chunlai was cheerfully recalling Muzin's black history, a message came from Fiend Tiger. Fiend Tiger, brothers, we have activity. Ubuyashiki Kagaya has dispatched all Demon Slayer Corps members to various regions to suppress the demon disasters. He's left no one by his side. The pillars have gone too. Fiend Tiger, player reinforcements, have also all left. But I can see most of them hovering nearby, not following orders at all. They're waiting. Waiting for what? Obviously waiting for Muzin to arrive. When he did, fight if you can, surrender if you can't. Even getting Muzin's blood and evacuating wasn't bad. Seeing the message, Zhang Long immediately sat upright, a cold predatory gleam flashing in his eyes. Is it now? Chen Lai nodded. Should be tonight. The moment the sun goes down, we make for the estate immediately. I've been waiting for this. Zhang Long stood, watching the nearly set sun beyond the cave entrance. His claws clenched in the air. Moonlit night. Heavy snow. A Kasugai crow perched on a branch. Accumulated snow fell, landing on the heads of several protuberant-eyed demons standing below. Behind these demons, Muzin Kibutsuji wore a white suit with a white top hat. His crimson eyes were filled with gravity. He genuinely hated the Ubuyashiki clan. Hated their 100-year pursuit of him. Hated the feeling of being remembered and opposed. Why couldn't the Ubuyashiki simply treat him as a natural disaster? If a person lost their life to a tsunami or tornado, would they hate the disaster? I am Muzin Kibutsuji, a half-perfect being. How am I different from a tsunami? A few dead humans here and there, the odd one consumed, tsunamis have taken millions of lives. Why do they chase me so relentlessly? Muzin's footsteps were extremely light, on accumulated snow, he left only the faintest impressions. 1,000 years of habit passed through without a trace. He walked slowly forward. Surrounding demons, like security guards, kicked open the vermilion gate. More extreme ones ripped the gate frames down, simply to ensure Muzin passed through smoothly. At the estate entrance, stone lion statues meant to ward off disaster. Muzin's 1,000-year curse on the Ubuyashiki clan, perhaps tonight, this very night, would see a conclusion. 9 stone steps. Muzin didn't ascend them. The demons behind him stared blankly forward, drool running, waiting for his command. You've come. Muzin Kibutsuji. The heavily burned-looking Ubuyashiki Kagaya knelt before him. His wife gently rubbed his back, trying to ease his pain. Leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. Leader of the demons. On this extraordinary night, they finally met. The wheel of fate turned slowly. The curtain of the Infinity Castle was about to rise. Chapter 72, Even if our bodies and souls are destroyed. 2151 characters August 26, 2025, Muzin, you look exactly as the doctors described. Deathly pale. Like you're about to die. Ubuyashiki Kagaya, working from his wife's descriptions, had formed a rough image of Muzin in his mind. Comparing it against ancestral records, he found Muzin truly hadn't changed. A single sentence pumped 18 visible veins on Muzin's forehead. He despised being told he was going to die. He was the Demon King, an immortal. Once he overcame sunlight, his one remaining weakness, he would endure as long as the world did. Sharp as ever. The Ubuyashiki are as insufferable as always. Muzin pressed down his white hat brim and surveyed his surroundings, confirming no one was wearing flame-patterned earrings. Only then did he look at Kagaya. You die tonight. Along with the Demon Slayer Corps. Your wife, your children. I've grown tired of this cat-and-mouse game. The Ubuyashiki will leave not a bone behind tonight. Speaking, Muzin directed the demons behind him to rush Kagaya. Cough, cough, cough. Kagaya coughed violently. But he lifted a book beside him. Muzin, the image of the blue spider lily you've been seeking is in the physician's notes right here. Don't you want it? Muzin's voice stopped the demons mid-rush. The demons were nearly in Kagaya's face, their stinking breath and bulging eyes almost pressing against him, yet he was unmoved. He began tearing out the book's pages one by one. "What are you doing? You wretch!" Muzin's handsome face finally cracked. He appeared almost instantaneously before Kagaya, and wrenched the book away. Pages fluttered. Muzin, back to Kagaya, pored through it, eye after eye scanning each herbal illustration. "Not here. Not here." As the Demon King, Muzin's reading and learning speed far exceeded any human's. And he'd been studying herbalism for many years. These things he'd already seen. "You tricked me. Ubuyashiki boy, you're gambling your own life." Muzin pressed his face against Kagaya's, knowing the curse had rendered him blind and unable to see. His rage was past rational thought. Muzin had once been a dying man. A physician had saved him, transformed him into a demon, and told him, "Eat the blue spider lily soon, and his body would be completely cured." Muzin couldn't wait. He killed the physician without first finding the blue spider lily. It would have been the key to overcoming sunlight. He left, wandered Japan, searched for 100 years, and found nothing. Kagaya had used Muzin's deepest obsession as bait. For what purpose? So close, Muzin Kibutsuji. Kagaya couldn't see what was before him, but he could smell Muzin's scent. He extended his hand as if to touch Muzin's arm. The demon beside him had received orders to protect Lord Muzin. Seeing Kagaya's hand move, it bit down on his wrist. Sharp teeth mixed with saliva tore off flesh, muscle and fascia together in a single bite. But the human body could be destroyed. The will to destroy demons, passed down through generations, would never yield. The severed hand seized Muzin's arm in its final moment. Muzin felt not the slightest force, yet something made him look down. The refined, gentle face Ubuyashiki Kagaya had always shown, now it was utterly ferocious. He marshaled every last ounce of his body's strength, and let out his final, shattering roar at Muzin. "This is the closest you've ever come, and the last. Muzin Kibutsuji. Even if our bodies and souls are utterly destroyed, we will cut you down." The words had barely faded when a world-shaking explosion spread from the center of the Ubuyashiki estate. A small mushroom cloud rose into the sky over this remote wilderness. So this was why the Demon Slayer Corps transported gunpowder. Their covert operation was for this guest tonight. But against a demon king like Muzin, what use was Taisho-era explosives? The Ubuyashikis had perished in the explosion, leaving nothing behind. The compendium of materia medica from the east had been blown into scraps, slowly burning to ash in the fire. The demons Muzin had brought along were also dead. Their regeneration speed couldn't match the destruction of the blast. But Muzin, his body had essentially become a massive sphere of flesh, writhing in the fire's center. When it sensed the outer explosions had concluded, he retracted the defensive mass. Parlor tricks, pointless resistance. Muzin snorted coldly. Then he felt something pierce his back. A substance, mixing wisteria flower, poison, and blood demon art flowed into his body. He turned. A small, pale woman in a vivid red-purple floral kimono, with slightly curled hair, was desperately driving a syringe of drug into Muzin's body. Seeing her, Muzin smiled. "It's been a long time." Tamayo's expression remained cold. One could see her clenched rear teeth. "Muzin. It has been many years." Facing Tamayo's coldness, Muzin controlled his muscles to force the needle drug out while deliberately provoking her. "Tamayo, what do you think you're doing? I saved your life, turned you into a demon. You don't even need to thank me. Why are you trying to kill me?" "Muzin, you deceived me." "I didn't. You chose to become a demon. You said you wanted to live." "I wanted to live because I wanted to watch my children grow up. If I'd known what becoming a demon meant, I would have bitten through your throat that day." Tamayo was a refined, graceful woman. Your first impression of her might invoke the idea of the ideal Yamato Nadeshiko. But at this moment, her teeth had cut through her own lower lip. Her eyes burned with hatred. She looked almost demonic herself. As the two conversed, the fire had partially subsided. Snowflakes fell from above, turning to meltwater in the revenge-born flames. Muzin spat some black blood, wiped it with his arm, feeling irritated. The self-detonation of Ubuyashiki Kagaya had barely damaged him. But the wisteria iron caltrops hidden in the explosion had impeded his regeneration. Tamayo's poison couldn't be neutralized quickly. His body stiffened momentarily. He was about to speak, and noticed human silhouettes closing in from the surrounding forest on all sides. Every Demon Slayer core pillar, and nearly the entire core, was here. Nothing more to say. The pillars drew their Nichiren blades, bit down hard, and charged toward Muzin at the fastest speeds of their lives. I entrust him to you, Lord Himejima Jyomiai. Tamayo placed her greatest hopes in the strongest and most formidable of them, the rock pillar. Himejima Jyomiai was blind, wearing a Namu Amida Butsu monk's robe, his chained flail Nichiren blades spinning like an electric fan. Muzin cursed. His body still couldn't move. The next instant, the flail swept in, and knocked his head completely apart, like hammering a watermelon. Chapter 73, Unleash Everything. 2050 characters August 26, 2025, my prediction, Muzin's head is no longer his weak point. If cutting off Muzin's head doesn't kill him, then it probably becomes a war of attrition until dawn. I understand. We're all prepared. Jyomiai, after I'm gone, I leave the battle situation to you. I only hope our next generation can grow up in peace. That wish we will make it reality. Himejima Jyomiai recalled his conversation with the master. Recalled Ubuyashiki Kagaya's meticulous care for every one of the pillars. Recalled his sacrifice. His devotion. In this moment, hatred for demons. Killing intent for Muzin. Both had peaked. Muzin Kibutsuji. The swordsman shouted Muzin's true name, like a flashlight pulling a rat out of the shadows. This demon king, who had lurked in the darkness for 100 years now stood before the core swordsman. Muzin, when you allowed demons to run rampant, did you consider the human perspective? Muzin, when you chewed human flesh, did you feel human pain and fear? Muzin, did you think humans could never do anything to you, so you could do whatever you pleased in the dark? Muzin Kibutsuji, what do you consider the value of life? At this moment, even the players embedded in the core were swept up in the atmosphere of grief and rage. Like those under a spell, they drew their Nichiren blades and charged toward the unmoving Muzin at the center. Multicolored breathing styles turned the battlefield's center into a pale white mist. Sword shadows from every direction poured in to engulf Muzin. A single biwa note changed key. The head of Muzin at the battlefield's center regenerated instantly. His expression was blank, even somewhat satisfied. Every swordsman who rushed close to Muzin found a black void window open at their feet, an infinity castle entrance. Neikheim's invitation, prepared long ago. Windows opened one after another. Swordsmen fell through like dumplings into a pot, descending into the magnificent infinity castle below, lanterns, shrines, wooden lattice windows, and training halls forming an infinitely connecting world. Everyone fell. Muzin entered the infinity castle too. Neikheim considerately formed a bridge under his feet. Tamayo gripped Muzin tightly, refusing to let him escape. Among the swordsmen, one with fire-red hair, and a vivid red marking on his forehead kept his eyes locked on Muzin. Muzin stared back just as intently. Did you think trapping me like this puts me at a disadvantage? Muzin snarled, watching over 1,000 swordsmen fall from high above. Next, where you're going is hell. Irritating Demon Slayer core, tonight I'll annihilate every last one of you. Muzin's voice echoed through the entire infinity castle. He stood on a high bridge. The swordsmen fell faster and faster. First a floor per second. Now several floors in the blink of an eye. The infinity castle's floor count seemed equally infinite. Without finding a foothold, they would fall forever. Gradually, perhaps not imagination, surrounding floors began filling with demons peering out, dense and shoulder to shoulder, greedy eyes watching the flesh falling into their city. The one who should go to hell is you. Right here, right now, you will not escape. Tanjiro Kamado looked toward Muzan on the bridge, and let out a lion's roar. Then try, Tanjiro Kamado. Muzan waved dismissively. Nakaim's biwa changed key again. Floor sections began strangely joining and shifting, concealing Muzan's form as he withdrew. So this is the Infinity Castle. A swordsman player had barely finished the observation when a demon, sensing the opportunity, leapt from the floors and bit him in two. Fiend Tiger watched player after player get ambushed and devoured during the fall, while his own descent accelerated, the floors rising to fill the space below him looked solid. Hitting them would mean broken bones even if it didn't kill him. In an infinity castle full of demons, an injury was equivalent to death. The circling demons wouldn't care whether you were hurt, blood scent only made them more excited. Wei Long. Where the hell are you? Where are my teammates, help? Fiend Tiger shouted wildly. Sure enough, demons on nearby floors turned their attention toward him. Muscular legs contracted, then burst forward. Fiend Tiger saw them, or rather, he'd done it deliberately. If no demons came, he'd have no way to maneuver. Thunder breathing sparked electricity around him, massively boosting his speed and reactions. Of all breathing styles, mist breathing was the fastest. But thunder breathing had the most explosive burst. Sleeves snapping in the wind, Fiend Tiger awkwardly twisted midair, caught the demon's ear by a hair's breadth, and used the momentum to slam into the nearby floor. He stood, sliced his rescuer demon in gratitude, then suddenly realized the platform held several dozen demons staring blankly at him. Fiend Tiger's calling for help, but how do we get in? Zhang Long looked somewhat headachy, stomping the ground below him. Many players who'd rushed here after seeing the posts and streams were also frustrated, every one of them trying to dig 3 feet down to find the Infinity Castle. Nakaim had already sealed the Infinity Castle entrance. Like a time-limited event dungeon, it only opened in specified windows. Most of the Demon Slayer core and pillars were already inside. The remaining players outside had no way in. Chunlai glanced at Zhang Long, casually plucked his biwa strings. A void window appeared beneath both of them. Nearby demon players were awestruck. Big bro, take me too. Big bro, I haven't boarded yet. Chunlai and Zhang Long smoothly fell into the Infinity Castle world, completely ignoring the demon players. The Infinity Castle was already oversaturated. Chunlai needed no more variables. He only wanted the plan to execute smoothly. And his trump card was his own blood demon art. The instant he entered the Infinity Castle, Chunlai felt his own Infinity Castle merge with Nakaim's. Like two Lego pieces clicking together. Nakaim's Infinity Castle was complex. Chunlai's was much simpler. Simultaneously, the entire Infinity Castle map appeared in his mind, enemies appearing in each zone, their faces and numbers fully comprehended. Nakaim served as Muzan's dedicated battlefield magic provider. She could precisely match each upper moon against opponents they'd relish, because she understood the Infinity Castle inside and out and could fine-tune it through her biwa. Now Chunlai could too. Chapter 74, Upper Moon Disgrace 2057 characters August 27, 2025. The moment he entered the Infinity Castle, Chunlai began rapid biwa work, remodeling the entire city according to the layout in his mind. First, corridors. He extended countless bridge corridors to rescue the falling Demon Slayer core swordsmen. Players or native characters, the Infinity Castle had tens of thousands of demons, but fewer than 1,500 swordsmen. If the core collapsed too fast, the pillars would eventually be worn to death by lower-ranked demons. Chunlai's targets were the upper moons. He needed time to deal with them. Chunlai and Zhang Long landed lightly. Chunlai used his blood demon art to create an isolated platform distant from all demons, and far from the pillars. Chunlai had planned to interfere with the pillar matchups, for instance, Nakaim was routing insect pillar Kocho Shinobu toward Upper Moon to Doma. Chunlai wanted to reroute the rock pillar to fight Doma instead. But Nakaim wouldn't allow it. The moment Chunlai set up a new route, she immediately rerouted to somewhere else. And her control intensity was higher than his, he couldn't overpower her. She won't let me interfere with the Upper Moon matchups. Chunlai didn't press further. He kept playing the biwa, reconfiguring the Infinity Castle layout to catch falling core swordsmen, while separately guiding Fiend Tiger's area, pushing demons away, and steering him toward Chunlai's floor. Fiend Tiger ripped a demon hand out of his own arm, mouth breathing visible white steam, his Nichiren blade slightly chipped, but he raised it anyway toward the demons retreating further away. If I ever see you lot again, I'm cutting every one of your heads. How dare you eat Tiger Bro's flesh? I will make every one of you regurgitate it. Done cursing, he nearly went limp and dropped onto the small platform, watching the floors shift around him like a Rubik's Cube. The ringing in his ears hadn't stopped. He'd lost too much blood. A thunder-breathing swordsman with no professional training who'd only blended into pillar training for a few days, surviving this many demon attacks was entirely due to Form 1 he'd bought. Thunder-breathing Form 1, Thunderclap and Flash, the foundation of all thunder-breathing sword forms. Straightforward and direct, extremely simple, but the fastest single strike of the entire style. Repeated Thunderclap and Flashes had let Fiend Tiger continuously slay the closest demons, preventing himself from being devoured immediately. But now he was genuinely exhausted. One more demon attacking him from anywhere would be free dining. Clack 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 clack, like someone combination locking a safe, the Infinity Castle spun. Nakaim and Chunlai were fighting for control, both demons wanted to ensure their dominance over the Infinity Castle. Toji, do you play chess? Never played. How does it work? Very simple. Aim for these key positions and keep checking, forcing the opponent into disarray. Can you do it? Sure, just cause chaos. Who can't do that? Then I leave it to you. After a brief exchange, Chunlai's body suddenly sprouted 2 additional arms. For a human, this would be impossible, but he was a demon. Toji Fushiguro took control of these 2 arms. Chunlai was freed. Simultaneously, Nakaim's situation became more difficult. She simultaneously had to manage Musen's orders to keep Pillars and Tanjiro away from him, ensure each Upper Moon was matched against the right opponent, and now deal with Chunlai's disruptions. Meanwhile, Nakaim couldn't figure out why someone with the same blood demon art as her had appeared tonight, and was active in the Infinity Castle. She didn't care to think about it. If she couldn't solve the problem, solve the one causing the problem. Lord Musen, I need the help of Kaigaku and the new Upper Moon. 2 demons just entered and are disrupting me. Nakaim rarely made requests of Musen. He naturally agreed, the Infinity Castle was Nakaim's territory. Protecting her mattered most. Musen had also noticed the strangeness of tonight's Infinity Castle. The floors and scenery were changing too fast, like someone had deliberately accelerated the rhythm. Swordsmen were changing battlefields 3 times per minute. Kaigaku, Motoyoki Genyutaro, go. Kill the wild demon disrupting Nakaim. Musen issued the command. Upper Moon 5 and 6, both recruited by Kokushibo, both formerly Demon Slayer Corps swordsmen. Kaigaku was Zenitsu's senior brother from the same master, a thunder-breathing user who'd betrayed his school, and joined Musen. Motoyoki Genyutaro, nothing special to say. Players had no ethics. Power was everything. After demonizing, he had 3 hearts and 6 lungs, greatly amplified power, and blood demon art unknown. Yes, Lord Musen. Kaigaku responded first, didn't even look at Motoyoki, stood up and vanished, clearly not wanting to speak with this Upper Moon 5 who'd entered the organization after him yet ranked higher. The so-called Upper Moon disgrace dares to come find me himself. Chunlai had just fed the unconscious Fiend Tiger Ratling's blood, successfully converting him into a demon, recovering from near death to full health in one gulp. Fiend Tiger propped himself up on his blade, gave Chunlai a thumbs up, that infusion was critical, bro, you're telling me. All credit to this bro right here. Zhang Long immediately claimed credit. Hold that thought, Upper Moon 6 is here. This demon is called Kaigaku. Very weak, hasn't fully mastered his blood demon art yet. But not to be underestimated. Chenlai stopped their shoulder-to-shoulder camaraderie. His expression grew serious. Whatever else was true, Upper Moon was Upper Moon. Even a newly appointed Upper Moon was a monster soaked in large quantities of Muzin's fresh blood. Lower Moon demons like the Infinity Castle's majority, killing them was pointless, as the Muzin's blood in their bodies was negligible. Upper Moons were necessarily different. This was Chenlai's hypothesis. He'd prepared two contingency plans: if only Muzin was special, kill Nakheim, seize control of the entire Infinity Castle, then combine all pillars to kill Muzin. If the Upper Moons were special, snowball effect. This all depended on whether Upper Moons would drop gold coins. Kaigaku was the best test subject. He was weak. In the original manga, he was dispatched by Zenitsu's godlike technique, a senior brother beaten by a junior with one strike. An Upper Moon killed in one slash. Hence, Upper Moon disgrace. To start the snowball, Kaigaku was the perfect starting point. Fiend Tiger, Yu and Zhang Long worked together. I'll use the biwa to ensure no interference. Chenlai's voice was calm. He could already sense another powerful Upper Moon's battle intent approaching. Muzin really held him in high regard, sent two Upper Moons to kill him. Ha! Ever played Temple Run? Chenlai plucked the biwa, and with Toji Fushiguro's four hands in joint performance, the entire Infinity Castle began rotating relentlessly toward an unpredictable future. Chapter 75, Time to Start Snowballing. 2182 characters, August 27, 2025, leave this to me. After being enhanced by demon blood, Fiend Tiger felt power flooding through him. He bared his teeth, feeling like everything ahead was conquerable. So this is how demon players felt. No wonder every post said breathing styles were garbage that even dogs wouldn't play. Kaigaku's blood demon art is electrical blades. His strikes are sharper. When hit, electricity courses along the skin and tears the wound. Heat follows. He inherited all thunder-breathing forms except Form 1. He has combat power but not the stats. You two test him. If you can't win, I'll call for backup. Chenlai spoke slowly, already watching Kaigaku leap across from an opposite pavilion. Clear enough to see Kaigaku's black hair and comma-shaped bracelet. He's here. Chenlai stepped back one pace, placing Zhang Long and Fiend Tiger in front. He wouldn't be the main force in this fight, his partners would. His battlefield was the entire Infinity Castle. Through sustained biwa performance, he'd hold the balance between the Demon Slayer core and demon forces, preventing demons from crushing the core. Only by maintaining that balance could the players, Chenlai's team, have the chance to fish in troubled waters. Otherwise, when all the pillars died, Muzin and the Upper Moons would surround him. Forget winning, he'd be doing it in a mass grave. Chenlai and Toji performed a four-hand duet, barely holding Nakheim at bay with the blood demon art. Nakheim was going mad now. She couldn't maintain calm. Her hair was flying like she'd been electrocuted. Long fingernails danced wildly across the biwa. Aya! Yaa! Stop rotating, stop, I'm genuinely going to throw up. Chenlai and Nakheim's clash had the most unfortunate effect on all the bystander players. Every time the Demon Slayer core felt they were about to engage a swarm of demons, the platform would suddenly shift, and the demons were gone, and they'd ended up somewhere else entirely. Kaigaku planted his Nichiren blade in the platform edge, and flipped himself up onto this independent training hall. The space was large, equivalent to 3 or 4 football pitches. Doors all around were shut, like a gladiatorial arena. The door belonging to Chenlai slowly swung closed. Zhang Long and Fiend Tiger stood in front of it, one left, one right. Both holding Nichiren blades. Demons providing honor guard for other demons. The world has really become incomprehensible. Kaigaku scoffed. The black lightning patterned Nichiren blade lifted. Hey, you two lower moon demons, come on. Let me show you the gap between yourselves and an upper moon. Zhonglong and Fiend Tiger exchanged a glance, both slightly incredulous. Chunlai had called Kaigaku the weakest upper moon, the upper moon disgrace, and the guy talked this big. Zhonglong rolled up his sleeves, a red flash crossing his eyes. Fiend Tiger crouched, drew his blade, white steam pouring from his lips. Thunder breathing form 1, thunderclap and flash. Thunder breathing form 2, rising thunder. Yellow lightning like a thunderbolt struck horizontally. Kaigaku's rising thunder was black lightning delivering 5 consecutive shattering strikes. 2 demons crossed past each other. Zhonglong, lacking a breathing style, was forced to leap aside. He needed to wait for an opening. Kaigaku absolutely wouldn't expect what his blood demon art was. You're also a thunder-breathing user. I never saw you under the old man's training. Damn. The old man was always biased, never willing to properly teach me, but handed thunder-breathing sword forms to outsiders like you. For some inexplicable reason, seeing Fiend Tiger use thunderclap and flash, Kaigaku had a complete emotional breakdown, standing in place ranting at the sky, ranting at the earth, comprehensibly to no one. Gibberish. What's he even saying? Fiend Tiger crouched again. He only knew this one move. Fortunately Chunlai had given him blood demon art boiling blood, a combat type art, otherwise he'd really be struggling. Hearing Kaigaku's rant from outside the door, Chunlai smiled slightly. When he'd had Fiend Tiger by thunder breathing, he'd already thought this through. Only thunderclap and flash could maximally impact this demon's mental state. Kaigaku's master Kawajima Jigoro was an old man with bushy white whiskers who'd tried to cultivate the next thunder pillar. Kaigaku had once been the most promising candidate, but he was fundamentally malicious, permanently unsatisfied with his circumstances, always extracting from others and never willing to give. The container of his heart had a hole in it. No matter how much love others poured in, it was never enough. His heart was empty. Because of his betrayal, Kawajima had committed seppuku, an agonizing death. Without an assistant, the pain would last about 30 minutes. Zenitsu Agatsuma had deep hatred for Kaigaku and swore to exterminate him. But since Chunlai's team was here, the weakest demon was naturally theirs to handle. Ideally, Chunlai could be present for every upper moon elimination to collect the spoils. Thunder breathing form 3, buzzing mosquito thunder. Kaigaku went berserk. His form continuously flashed, circling Fiend Tiger with relentless lightning slashes. Fiend Tiger's arms, thighs, and back were all struck. Black lightning scorched his flesh to a charred black, emitting an uncanny scent. Smells like roast human. Zhonglong joked, and from the ground suddenly extended his body's own blood and flesh, shielding Fiend Tiger. This sent Kaigaku into even greater fury. He jumped, launched a continuous series of changing sword forms, as if trying to prove something to Zhonglong. Thunder breathing form 4, distant thunder. High-speed charge strike. With this, Kaigaku closed on Zhonglong. Thunder breathing form 5, heat boundary lightning. This strike was extremely fast. Simultaneously Kaigaku's blood demon art activated, black lightning punched through Zhonglong's thick exterior flesh and injured him directly. Kaigaku grinned savagely, raising his black lightning Nichiren blade high. Thunder breathing form 6, electric thunder roar. The highest damage sword form of the entire thunder breathing arsenal, radiating countless strikes in all directions from the user's center. For an instant, Kaigaku saw the terrified expressions on both Fiend Tiger and Zhonglong's faces, as if they feared his power as a thunder-breathing successor. Ha 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 ha. Old man, can you see? I'm stronger than that waste Zenitsu. I am the young. His mad laughter wasn't finished when a gleaming Nichiren blade was shoved into his open mouth, piercing his brainstem directly. A second blade, even more decisive, came straight down through the neck, cleanly severing his head entire. What was he laughing about? Must have been dreaming. My blood demon art, the one Chun-Li had me by, really does hit different. Zhang Long stepped on Kaigaku's head, and kicked it like a bowling ball into infinite void. Blood demon art, enmu those who touch the caster's flesh will fall into a dream, seeing the scene they most wish to see. A single drop of dark red blood separated from Kaigaku's headless body. Golden light reflected in Zhang Long's and Fiend Tiger's eyes. Chapter 76, Small Snowball 2051 Characters August 28, 2025 Kaigaku's blood, unique special demon blood derived from Kaigaku's own genes after absorbing large quantities of Muzen's blood. Every upper moon demon has the potential to become a different form of being. Value, 500,000 yuan. The folding doors slowly opened. Chun-Li's eyes fixed on Kaigaku's blood. The corner of his mouth curved slightly. His guess was right. Upper moons were indeed special. This had been demonstrated in the original anime. The most classic example was Akaza, Upper Moon 3. During his fight with Tanjiro in the Infinity Castle, he was decapitated, and kept moving anyway, able to grow his head back. If not for protagonist Fortune, Tomioka the Water Pillar and Tanjiro should both have died to him. And Upper Moon's blood, excellent. Now I have my foundation. Chun-Li's eyes lit up. He walked to the spoils and closed his hand around the blood drop. Zhang Long and Fiend Tiger watched him, waiting for Chun-Li's next move. Their greed for the spoils was there, of course it was. But clearly, without Chun-Li, they'd be roadside casualties in the Infinity Castle. After taking Kaigaku's blood, Chun-Li didn't hesitate at all. He tossed it directly to Fiend Tiger. Kaigaku's blood demon art is the most compatible with thunder breathing. Replace your current one immediately. Then we go for the hard target. Chun-Li's tone was decisive. He'd thought it all through before entering. The builds he'd set up for each person were optimized cost-effectiveness. The first round with Kaigaku had been handled easily, but the next target was the hard target. Upper Moon 3 Akaza. Akaza was nothing like Kaigaku. Kaigaku had joined the demons days ago. Akaza had held his position for over 100 years. Think about it, among all of Muzen's demons, only the top 3 Upper Moons had never changed in centuries. Upper Moons 4, 5, and 6 had gone through multiple turnovers. But Akaza's position was unmovable. Though both were Upper Moons, they were not the same thing at all. What Chun-Li truly wanted was Akaza's blood, specifically his blood after awakening. Fiend Tiger took Kaigaku's blood from Chun-Li, about to say a polite thanks, but seeing Chun-Li's expression was very serious, he said nothing. Great Heavenly Dragon was usually pretty relaxed. This expression meant the next fight was genuinely bloody. Upper Moon 5 Motoyoki Geniutaro jumped around the Infinity Castle. Countless times he glimpsed Chun-Li's coattail, and the next second it was moved away. He was nearly going insane. That waste Kaigaku had lasted less than 10 minutes before being decapitated. If he couldn't complete Muzen's assigned task, he'd be punished. You cowards, do you only know how to hide? Motoyoki stood on a large platform about 3,000 meters from Chun-Li, roaring thunderously. Chun-Li looked back at him, his expression slightly strange. This guy wasn't actually taking himself for a real Upper Moon now, was he? Muzen's task was just a formality, you didn't have to literally do it. What do you say, Wei Long, should we do him? Fiend Tiger, after using Kaigaku's blood, felt power surging through him. So this was what Upper Moon power felt like, extraordinary. He immediately asked to take down Motoyoki Geniutaro. This player was ranked fairly high on the Deep Sea rankings. Defeating him would make for great stream content. Facing Fiend Tiger's eager volunteering, Chun-Li shook his head. Killing him is easy. But right now time is precious. Akaza is nearly done with his victims. As he spoke, he plucked the biwa strings. Motoyoki Geniutaro jumped halfway, and the structures beneath him began shifting downward. The distance between them was growing. fleeing before the fight, coward. 3 hearts and 6 lungs did make for excellent lung capacity. The shouting was impressively loud. But no matter how loud he shouted, it didn't help. Chun-Li had no bandwidth for him right now. All focus had to go to Akaza. The platform carrying Chun-Li's 3 demons shifted continuously, like a land ship, translating, rotating, diagonal cutting, dropping, making its way through the Infinity Castle toward Upper Moon 3 Akaza's training hall. Scenery shifting at every step, Chun-Li's 4 hands still moved furiously. He guided the protagonist Tanjiro Kamado, who'd been fighting demons, over to his side. Neikime didn't interfere much. And not just him, Zenitsu Agatsuma was pulled over too. Inosuke Hashibara. All 3 protagonist group members collected, to help him fight Akaza. At the same time, Tanjiro's senior brother, Water Pillar Tomioka Ju, seeing his junior's platform being moved, followed along. He hoped Tanjiro could take on his own burdens, and become the next Water Pillar. Tomioka Ju, brooding, warm-hearted, bad with words, naturally honest, a good person. Chun-Li considered and decided to let him follow. One fake Upper Moon, Fiend Tiger, might not hold out against Akaza. Surrounding him required full effort. Make no mistake, this was not an interchangeable Upper Moon 4, 5, or 6. This was Upper Moon 3, unmoved for 100 years. I want my money back. In a vast training hall, under a broken support pillar, a player named Don't Wanna Play Anymore spat blood and delivered his dying words in fragments. Before him, Akaza was slowly withdrawing his blood-soaked fist from the hole he'd punched. Long eyelashes with clinging blood drops gave him an even more unearthly appearance. The weak have no right to continue living. He said this dismissively and delivered a casual side kick, sending a player swordsman who'd tried to ambush him from behind into an instant kill. Okay, guys, I think I'm about to die too. This thing, Upper Moon 3, Akaza. Pure absurd stat wall monster. Impossibly strong. He can even kill demon swordsmen. A demon player hiding far behind a pillar, but with an undiminished voice, was giving a live broadcast from the battle zone. He'd originally planned to follow Motoyuki Genutaro for content, but Neikime had routed him to the Infinity Castle's lowest level, assigned to work alongside Akaza. Just now, close to 300 players had been here. While Chun-Li dealt with Kaigaku, all 300 were killed without exception. Including 12 demon swordsmen, physically demolished by Akaza's destructive death. You couldn't understand the pressure the word, Upper Moon, carried unless you faced him. If Kaigaku was a bicycle, Akaza was a high-speed rail. When he hit someone, there was no pain, they just became a blood mist and ceased to exist in the world. What are you saying? Akaza teleported to high-heeled gonad cover's back, hand nearly weightlessly resting on the shoulder, sending every hair on the player's body standing straight. Nothing, nothing. Lord Akaza, are you done with your work? The fighters Neikime assigned too weak. I need stronger opponents. Akaza didn't care what high-heeled gonad cover had said. He was just clenching his fists, somewhat forlorn. Chapter 77, Mid-Snowball. 2098 characters August 28, 2025, when Tanjiro and his senior brother arrived at the training hall fate had arranged, he nearly threw up. Not his fault, Tanjiro's nose was extremely sensitive. And a training hall where 300 people had died, the blood scent required no description. Tomioka Ju, in his red and yellow Haori, wore a grave expression. He shielded his junior and drew his Nichiren blade, slowly stepping forward. In this vast underground training hall, designed by Neikime specifically for Akaza, he preferred martial arts hall aesthetics, and space had to be large enough for full range of motion. Suddenly, Tomioka Ju's sightless eyes flashed with cold light, nostrils flaring slightly. He smelled it. Not blood. The scent of an Upper Moon demon. A pair of blue martial arts trousers descended from above, prayer bead ankle bracelet rattling. Watch out! Tomioka shoved Tanjiro aside. Right hand smoothly flowing into water-breathing form 4, striking tide. body rotating midair, the tremendous rotational force successfully parried Akaza's descending strike. Flame-breathing, ninth form, Rengoku. Finding the opening, Tanjiro pressed his attack, his blade with a phantom red flame, the breath from his lips almost fire-like. Akaza's spider pattern eyes showed surprise. A sideways hop and the attack was dodged. Tanjiro saw his attack miss, and almost instantly tried to turn and strike again. He'd fought Akaza before and knew exactly how fast he was. He was right. Akaza had teleported behind him. Left hand almost touching Tanjiro's waist, right hand reaching to pat his head. Akaza's movements were very gentle, but if Tanjiro actually got touched, he'd be twisted like a pretzel. Flame-breathing, seventh form, sunflower thrust. Tanjiro extracted power from his body at the last second, improvising a variation, narrowly avoiding Akaza's grasp. Ah, very good. One attempt failed, Akaza stopped and regarded Tanjiro with interest. Rengoku Kaijuro wasn't wrong. You're not weak, Tanjiro. You're a child with potential. Tanjiro completely ignored the praise. Demon psychology was always extremely twisted. Between humans and demons, there was only one conversation, through the blade. Seeing Tanjiro ignore him, Akaza didn't mind. He turned his gaze to the grave-faced Tomioka-ju, whose breath was denser white. He pointed at him. Your battle intent is strong. You're a pillar. Water-breathing form 1, water surface slash. Water-breathing's form 1, a powerful horizontal slash. The most fundamental technique. Water surface slash deliberately left some openings, but for Tomioka-ju, his junior would cover those gaps. Akaza smiled. He felt his opponent's soaring fighting spirit. Blood boiling in his chest. Destructive death, compass needle. Akaza's palm raised vertically in front of him, slightly crouching in a horse stance to anchor the center. Beneath his feet, a compass-like disc expanded, glowing icy blue. This was Akaza's blood demon art. Using destructive death, compass needle as the core, extending through his hands, feet, and body, deriving precise, infinitely powerful martial strikes. Of the 300 players who died earlier, perhaps 200 to his destructive death, chaotic form alone. Akaza was a true monster, king of this underground training hall. In the blink of an eye, red and yellow Haori had crossed in front of Akaza. The horizontal slash, carrying sprays of water, calm as a water surface. A simple left straight punch dispersed the Nichiren blade slash. Right hand rising uppercut from below, targeting Tomioka-ju's jawbone. Flame-breathing, ninth form, blazing bones. At the critical moment, Tanjiro launched a fierce attack from the side, simultaneously severing both of Akaza's hands, shattering his plan to knock out Tomioka-ju. But for a demon, any strike not to the neck was meaningless. Arms with blue eerie patterns regenerated in an instant. Both fists fired simultaneously, striking the center point of both Nichiren blades, pushing Tomioka-ju and Tanjiro far back. A simple push. Tomioka-ju slid back 20 meters to absorb the force. Tanjiro slammed into a pillar, leaving an impression of moderate depth. This is Upper Moon 3. The enemy Rengoku Kaijuro faced back then. Tomioka-ju braced his blade to stand, expression seeming calm, heart churning like tidal waves. You're strong, comparable to Kaijuro back then. You seem to lack that fire. Let me think, it's probably the difference between damp battle intent and scorched battle intent. Facing Akaza's assessment, Tomioka-ju didn't bother replying. He didn't like talking. Especially not to enemies. Suddenly, Tomioka-ju's nose flared again. And Tanjiro, blood at the corner of his mouth, looked around in alarm. He'd smelled multiple new scents. 3 demons approaching. Zenitsu and Inosuke have also arrived. Tanjiro's expression first turned grim, then slightly steadied. One Akaza was already beyond them, adding 3 more demons would be driving them toward certain death. But his companions had also arrived. Zenitsu's thunder breathing was powerful. Inosuke wasn't weak either. At the other end of the underground training hall, Zenitsu Agatsuma and Inosuke Hashibara were shaking slightly, looking at the three demons in front of them. Inosuke, you go first. I'll guard your back. Zenitsu's legs trembled, he seemed very afraid of the three. But Chunlai knew, this Zenitsu was the classic wolf in sheep's clothing. His current strength was essentially at Thunder Pillar level. Especially after self-developing Thunder-breathing Form 7, Flaming Thunder God, his power directly challenged the upper moons. Didn't Lady Tamayo tell you two anything? Chunlai spoke first, getting ahead of it. He needed to gain these two's trust as quickly as possible, and then bring them to fight Akaza. What's this biwa-wielding demon saying? This great Inosuke will beat all of you flat right here. The bare-chested boy with the wild boar mask, muscles flexing, steaming breath from the boar mask's nostrils, he used beast breathing. Inosuke Hashibara. Hearing him speak, Chunlai's mouth twitched twice. Inosuke was a mindless berserker, talking to him was talking to empty air. He turned directly to Zenitsu. You're Zenitsu Agatsuma, right? Your senior brother Kaigaku, we've already killed him. Fiend Tiger, toss him the Nichiren blade to look at. As he spoke, a Nichiren blade with black lightning patterns was tossed by Fiend Tiger to Zenitsu. The wary Zenitsu, upon seeing this blade, froze for a moment, then restored his calm. Chapter 78, Big Snowball, 2025 characters August 29, 2025, Lady Tamayo helped us break free of Muzin's control. We want to repay her kindness. Chunlai opened his mouth and immediately lied. His single purpose was to gain the two protagonists' trust as quickly as possible, and then bring them to fight Akaza. Your companion Tanjiro is currently fighting Upper Moon 3. He's in serious danger. I can sense it, so we came to help. Saying this, Chunlai put a worried expression on his face. Behind him, Fiend Tiger was barely holding back laughter. You're actually pretty convincing at this. Honestly, what Fiend Tiger admired most about Chunlai was this precise ability. In very short time, he could map the dungeon's character relationships, find the entry point, say the right thing at the right moment in the right way, and thereby obtain benefits. Among deep-sea gold diggers, people like this existed, but none used it as fast as Chunlai. Hearing that Tanjiro was in danger, Zenitsu couldn't care about whether the demon speaking was telling truth. In his view, any demon who could say Tamayo had shed suspicion. I've been waiting ages, you're all so slow. Karj. Before Zenitsu could finish, the boarhead boy had already roared his technique name, and charged inside. Chunlai exchanged a glance with his two demons, broke into a smile, then plucked a few biwa strings. Nakaim was dispatching more lower moon demons to reinforce. Chunlai had just plucked to cut all access corridors around the training hall. This place was now an island. From this moment, protagonist trio, Tomioka Ju, and Chunlai's gold-digging squad, combined vs Upper Moon 3 Akaza. Today, this arena would only let one side walk out alive. Toji, I'm handing you the biwa. Keep anyone from entering this training hall. Pillars included. Understood. Chunlai gave his last instruction. He didn't want more pillars joining, that would increase unpredictable variables. Every pillar was deeply consumed by hatred for demons. He had no confidence he could fool them in short order. One water pillar helping was enough. Let's go. Chunlai called out. Fiend Tiger and Zhang Long immediately followed. Ahead, those continuously flashing blue waves of light, nothing but an upper moon could generate pressure like that. At the same time, Tomioka Ju and Tanjiro stood facing Akaza. Akaza's compass needle remained steady, radiating icy blue light. Akaza suddenly began applauding. Splendid. Tanjiro becoming this strong in such a short time is truly remarkable. In that case, Kaijuro's soul in heaven can also rest in peace. Dying back then was the right thing for him. People grow old. He wasn't willing to become a demon. In the future he might not have continued to grow stronger, dying at his peak. Isn't that a good thing, Tanjiro? Tomioka now understood. This was why demons were demons. Their thought processes had become extreme. What they'd lacked most in life, they'd fanatically sought to fill after becoming demons. Clearly, Akaza in life had been a weak person, which was why he'd been insanely pursuing strength. I won't allow you to insult Master Rengoku. Tanjiro couldn't stand it. Rengoku Kyojuro was the person he respected most, someone who'd put himself on the line to protect the passengers of the train, and nearly killed Akaza. You're a coward who only knows how to run, using an unkillable body to insult people. Flame-breathing, 9th form, Sun Halo Dragon. Suddenly, Tanjiro's blade seemed to catch fire. A pink phantom flame rose from the blade, like a dragon's breath. Akaza's eyes widened in surprise. That aura, it's powerful. The next second, a winding dragon drove Tanjiro forward, a red gale lifting through the underground training hall. Akaza gave a slight smile. The bracing Tomioka noticed immediately. Destructive Death, Compass Needle. Destructive Death, Compass Needle 8 core spirits. Sun Halo Dragon was a slashing form generating enormous impact force through high-speed rotation, somewhat like a spiral tornado hammer technique. Building force layer by layer, the final strike delivered absolute crushing power. This was the move Tanjiro had used to sever Upper Moon 6's head. But applying it against high-end opponents was asking for trouble. Because Akaza's specialty was interrupting others' techniques. Every punch precisely placed, every point of force exactly right, like an aimbot locked onto you. When he aimed for the head, he'd never hit the neck. In Tomioka's contracting pupils, he watched Akaza almost instantly close the distance to spinning Tanjiro, landing a punch on the midpoint of the Nichiren blade, at the node where Tanjiro's rotation was most unstable. Not one punch. Countless punches. Continuous strikes hammering the same midpoint. Punches coming from every direction, but all hitting the same point. In Tomioka's eyes, this level of martial arts was already divine. Tanjiro almost simultaneously lost control of the Nichiren blade. Sun Halo Dragon was broken. His hands went slightly numb. The mocking smiled Akaza withdrew his fist and lifted his foot. Destructive Death, Flowing Flashlight Swarm. Water Breathing, 11th form, Dead Calm. At the crisis point, the backing Tomioka could only use his self-created defensive form to cover Tanjiro, taking Tanjiro's place to stand before Akaza, and neutralize the countless kicks in an instant. You're the water pillar, the water pillars I've eaten before never used this form. You're strong. Want to become a demon? Akaza resumed his pitch. He genuinely wanted a companion who could fight alongside him forever. Only through fighting could technique be continuously refined. Only through fighting could the void in his heart be replaced by fighting spirit. The distant cowering high-heeled gonad cover was secretly filming. Stream viewers wanted him to get closer. Long-term vegan, what are you afraid of? The gear on your body isn't worth one hair off that demon. Get closer and film. Spring Sun Shadow, 960p low-res censored this section. I play WA, Mama, look what's behind you. Suddenly, high-heeled gonad cover's back went cold. K-Arge. K-Arge. 2 crossing blades harvested. High-heeled gonad cover died instantly, head flying high, stream going black. I play WA, Mama, how did you die? Chapter 79, Big Snowball, 2, 2135 characters August 29, 2025. When Chun-Li led everyone to the battlefield, Akaza had already launched a new round of exchanges with Tomioka. He didn't rush to intervene. First he collected high-heeled gonad cover's blood. Keys mode player drops weren't worth much, but even a small mosquito had some meat. Zenitsu and Inosuke had already charged in, watching Tanjiro spit blood. You okay, Tanjiro? Get up, charcoal paper wolf. Follow this great Inosuke and charge. Inosuke, heedless of everything, helped Tanjiro up. Tanjiro spat more blood. The markings on his forehead flickered faintly. Chunlai watched carefully. The markings pattern was almost formed. In the Demon Slayer world, humans had 3 trump cards: Crimson Red Blades, Hinakami Kagura, Transparent World, and Markings. Possess 2 and you could kill an upper moon. All 3 together, enough to clash with Akaza head-on. In truth, Tanjiro had produced Crimson Red Blades before, and the markings had appeared. To truly defeat Akaza, he needed one last thing: the insight of Transparent World. Chunlai's gaze shifted, calculating how to guide Tanjiro, help him discover the secret of Akaza's technique. For mindset-based powers like this, forcing them on the protagonist didn't work. He had to discover it himself: comprehension gained through combat, insight achieved under pressure. This was a hard fight. Chunlai, Fiend Tiger, and Zhang Long still couldn't serve as the main force. They were the offering to help Tanjiro achieve Transparent World. Surround Akaza from all directions. Remember, hold back 30%. Don't actually die. Chunlai gave the instruction to those behind him. His purpose was clear: continuously force Akaza to use his techniques, letting Tanjiro observe, to discover what made destructive death different. This technique, interesting. It uses the person's own battle intent for targeting, doesn't it? A very clever method. Very economical. But this approach will never reach the highest martial peak. Toji Fushiguro played the biwa with one pair of hands while using Chunlai's eyes to watch the battle. You saw through it. Chunlai continued charging forward, still conversing internally with Toji. Of course. In the jujitsu world, plenty of people use shortcut methods. But they're all too mechanical. The one in front of us is no different. Techniques let people skip many steps, like a one-click easy mode. But they also skip comprehension. Without comprehension, martial arts becomes a dead thing. Akaza, truly pitiable. If he abandoned this destructive death, he might reach the highest peak very quickly. But people accustomed to easy mode, how could they ever give it up? Toji Fushiguro cut to the heart of Akaza in one statement. True to the heaven-blessed tyrant. Akaza's blood demon art destructive death could read everyone's battle intent within the array. Even an infant had extremely faint battle intent, not the chakrahorse kind, but the fighting will of living creatures. Even blind, Akaza could fight through his technique, and through destructive death his attacks were this precise, his defenses impenetrable. You seeing it doesn't help. Tanjiro has to see it himself. Chunlai shook his head slightly. Together with Tomioka Ju, Zhang Long, Fiend Tiger, and the protagonist trio, they formed a multi-angle encirclement. A flock of sheep gathered together. A lone tiger walks alone. Akaza suddenly said this. He must have been quite talkative before becoming a demon. Water-breathing form 4, Striking Tide. Tomioka Ju launched the first attack. He was the pillar here, the strongest present. He should be the primary aggressor. When he moved, all 6 angles of the encirclement moved simultaneously, forming an encircling kill net around Akaza in an instant. Water blade. Crackling electricity. Boar charge. Demonic slashes. In the thick encirclement, Akaza suddenly took the classic karate-ready stance. The destructive death, compass needle beneath his feet lit up more brightly than ever. Destructive death, final form. The instant Tanjiro heard final form, he knew disaster was coming. Akaza's destructive death had 6 forms: chaotic, aerial, foot, obliterating, shattering, final. Every form had specific situations it was designed for. And destructive death, compass needle as the core provided targeting for all these techniques. Which was why Toji had evaluated Akaza as a wheelchair user. His fighting required literally no brains, the compass let him read battle intent, then pick the most suitable of 6 forms to execute. If that wasn't a wheelchair, what was? Instantly identifiable as a pure formula user. Akaza's right hand produced a surging blue battle intent. He didn't choose to punch anyone around him, instead he targeted the ground beneath his own feet. "Run for it!" Tanjiro shouted toward Inosuke. He knew the boar was the most reckless. If he attacked blindly regardless, he'd die. Boom 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 boom. The entire training hall's center suddenly collapsed. From the center, a spiderweb crack expanded outward section by section, like someone stomping outward from inside a floor, relentlessly. Absolutely insane. Half of Zhang Long's body had been obliterated. After it gradually regenerated, he gave this evaluation. Pure stats. Fiend Tiger's Nichiren blade shattered. Looking at the blade now dust, he was speechless. Be careful. He still has a big move he hasn't used yet. Chunlai had also been injured. But he was a demon, recovery was fast. No concern. There's more. Zhang Long was incredulous. No wonder Chunlai had called this a hard target. This hard target was genuinely hard, alone they'd chip teeth trying to crack it. Like Shibuya Incident's Gojo Satoru, Infinity Castle's Akaza, these checkpoint boss types were what players called iron backside, can't push through, can't beat the dungeon's safety net. Encounter one and your only option was reset. Forget the fact that Akaza was just one demon. Every player in the dungeon attacking simultaneously would die out before they could bring him down. The power level gap was absolute. Numbers had long since lost meaning. Chunlai looked toward Tanjiro. Just now at the critical moment, Tomioka Ju had used his self-created absolute defense again, Form 11, dead calm, completely isolating the shockwave of the final form. The protagonist trio were uninjured. However, Form 11 was enormously energy-consuming. Looking at Tomioka Ju now breathing in small sips, he too was under tremendous pressure from Akaza. Zhang Long gave Chunlai a signal, should they use Enmu now? The blood demon art was a mechanic that bypassed physical defense. If Akaza could be made to sleep. But Chunlai shook his head. He knew clearly, Enmu wasn't for now. Akaza was the type of person with infinite fighting spirit. Even asleep he'd fight like a drunk master. Hoping to kill him through mechanics was basically a dream. Enmu would be used. Just not now. Chapter 80, Big Snowball. 2053 characters. August 30, 2025. The collapsed underground training hall, with its load-bearing pillars gone, the upper structure pressed down. Fortunately Toji Fushiguro adjusted in time, pulling their floor level out entirely. Now everyone was airborne. So was Akaza. Your battle intent, it's full. Keep coming. Show me whether you can truly give me what I want. Mid-air, Akaza continued throwing continuous punches. Pale blue fist wind filled the air, hammering Chunlai's group relentlessly. Close range, long range, target lock aimbot, stat wheelchair, Akaza. Chunlai's shoulder, thigh, stomach, arm, all grazed by fist wind. Even the biwa formed by blood demon art had dropped. Toji Fushiguro's controlled arms tried to intercept and couldn't. The stat gap was too extreme. The fist wind grazing them shattered the arms. I can't manage. Gojo's hollow purple was the same, too much force. Can't block it. Toji's voice was light. After all, it was Chunlai taking the damage, not him. He'd done his best. Chunlai ignored him. He looked at the upcoming landing spot, a freshly risen arch bridge, its bottom edge extending into unknown distance, surrounded by lionhead fountains. The bridge was wide, single lane, just like the Bridge of Forgetfulness. Clearly Nakeheim had specifically chosen this as Akaza's place to finish them. On a platform relatively far from the bridge, Demon Slayer Corps members and lower-ranked demons were tearing into each other, mixed with players. They'd spotted Great Heavenly Dragon's ID and Akaza. Great Heavenly Dragon. He entered this dungeon. Fiend Tiger's not streaming. Squad has zero chance, he came with a team to pull loot who'd stream for you. Wei Long entered, so we have to follow him, get close. Prepare to grab scraps. A demon swordsman player casually slit a swordsman player's throat, pocketed the loot, then leapt toward the bridge direction. Players in a dungeon were never afraid to die. Their equipment cost real money, but if you couldn't have a good time, why play deep-sea games? Loot the scraps. Take over the body. Reach the peak. Come on, you strong ones, fight, fight. Landing on the arch bridge, Chen Lai's body slowly repaired itself. A demon's recovery had limits. One who didn't eat humans recovered slower. He looked at the players slowly approaching from pavilions and temples. He looked at the wildly laughing Akaza ahead, posed in martial arts stance. Chen Lai turned his head to Tanjiro and asked, "Did you understand it?" Tanjiro was bewildered. Understand what? What he was saying just now. About battle intent. He said our battle intent was vigorous. Tanjiro's brow furrowed deeply. In the moment battle intent was mentioned, he seemed to remember something, but was still just short of it. Chen Lai nodded slowly. Still a little short. That meant one more demonstration was needed. Toji, using this body, how many exchanges can you manage with Akaza? Will he use that final form that would turn me to ash? Probably not. He likes people with refined martial arts. To have more exchanges with you, he probably won't use it. Let's see then. I should manage 10 exchanges. In the mental exchange, Chen Lai passed control to Toji Fushiguro. The water pillar Tomioka-ju had been routed somewhere by Nakime, only he and the small remaining group faced Akaza. Clearly Nakime genuinely wanted Chen Lai dead. He removed his already damaged binding cloth, revealing a physique not overly bulky but compact and powerful. He crouched slightly, lowered his center of gravity, one hand forward one back, feet pressed steadily on the bridge wood. In an instant, Akaza felt the person before him had changed. The previously floating footwork became solid. The previously casual posture adjusted. Akaza trusted his instincts, the figure before him was no weakling. You're a martial artist? Akaza smiled, asking. Something like that. Toji's posture was still casual, he was simply not the type to follow convention. Same in fighting. You're strong. In Akaza's view, Toji's battle intent flickered irregularly, a battle intent type he'd never seen before. The words weren't finished when Toji launched an attack on his own initiative. He closed on Akaza at near teleportation speed. His right leg delivered a simple direct kick, trying to catch Akaza's stance. Akaza naturally wouldn't allow it. Destructive Death's disc deployed, eyes pointing like a magnet at the men before him. Ha, you still have battle intent in the end. No matter how refined your martial arts, you can't beat me without reaching the highest level. Akaza's expression relaxed slightly. He moved at extreme speed, two sets of fists meeting in the air, faster than the eye could track, flesh-generating sparks on impact. Their movements in Tanjiro's widened eyes played in frame-by-frame slow motion. His pupils lost focus, as if sinking into another world. In that place, his father was endlessly demonstrating the flame-breathing dances, their family's inherited ritual dance. In that place, his father, a sickly man, had used an axe to kill a 3-meter black bear in the blink of an eye. How had father done it? Battle intent. The highest peak. That transparent world. In an instant, Tanjiro's forehead markings began burning red and hot. The black Nichiren blade in his hand faintly reddened. The world before his eyes turned upside down. The fight was no longer a fight. Chen Lai and Akaza became two faint white flames. Their every movement, every attack, Tanjiro felt he could judge their intent and direction of travel. And so Tanjiro slowly moved toward Akaza. Akaza was immersed in the exchange with Chen Lai, the most satisfying fight in ages. Excellent. Fight on like this. I'll ask Lord Muzan to give you more blood, make you an upper moon too. Tad Ada. Akaza accelerated. His suppressed stats could no longer be contained. Toji Fushiguro began to be overwhelmed. However refined his martial arts, in this situation he was powerless. Toji's eyes remained undisturbed. Just a trip. Akaza was only a madman with enormous stats, but no real martial heart. Fighting him, Toji felt no joy. At this moment, Tanjiro was already standing behind Akaza. Akaza had no idea. The crimson-red blade was already at his neck. I told you, too much time on the wheelchair dulls your senses. Toji suddenly stopped. He smiled at Akaza and said one line. No battle intent. The crimson-red blade effortlessly cut Akaza's head. Tanjiro gripped it by the hair and slammed the severed head hard onto the ground. Chapter 81, Wheelchair. 2,250 characters. August 30, 2025. Akaza had been decapitated by Tanjiro so easily. His invincibility lay in the wheelchair. His weakness also lay in the wheelchair. Too reliant on the blood demon art's compass, sensing enemies through battle intent, but a swordsman who opened transparent world had no battle intent. Akaza's eyes suddenly widened. He didn't know what had happened. His vision spun. His head was slammed to the ground. Only then did Akaza realize he'd been decapitated. And from behind, by Tanjiro. On what grounds? His martial path hadn't reached its end. How could he fall here? This powerful self. Immortal body. Eternal lifespan. It was impossible, it shouldn't end here. Unyielding fighting spirit boiled in Akaza. The severed neck's wound surface healed in an instant, forming a bull-sized scar. The nearly toppled body resumed its martial arts stance, facing Chun-Li. You're telling me there's a second phase? Fiend Tiger was standing there dumbfounded. He'd been resigned to death, then Chun-Li had turned things around, using the original plot character's moment of enlightenment to defeat Akaza. About to pop champagne, and now there's a second phase. I admit, I was wrong. Zhang Long slowly shook his head. Who said this guy had no mechanics? Decapitation triggers second phase, we upper moons really do have some tricks. Akaza reactivated destructive death compass needle. The martial arts pressure almost pinned everyone present in place. Toji Fushiguro returned control to Chun-Li. He had no more options. This situation required whether Chun-Li had something in reserve. If not, time to queue for the next game. Chun-Li refocused. He laboriously twisted his head to look at Zhang Long, lips moving. Oh, got it. Zhang Long had a sudden epiphany. He finally understood why Chun-Li had been restraining him from using the blood demon art. A forum post had noted, the higher the demon's tier, the greater their obsession. Near death, demons return to a human state, recalling their original memories, remembering their initial motivations before becoming demons. Akaza, why did you become a demon? To protect who? Akaza, you pursued strength. If the protagonist team's talking no jutsu wasn't sufficient, could the blood demon art Enmu fill in this final piece of the puzzle? Chun-Li didn't know. This was the plan's final step. The dice had been thrown. Whether this round could end in glory, it all came down to this. Zhang Long charged forward. His sticky blood flesh contacted the fist Akaza swung at him, Enmu activated immediately. In an instant, Akaza was transported to his childhood, back to the years when he was still Soyama Hakuji. A seriously ill father. A poverty-stricken family. Hakuji stealing and robbing to buy medicine for his father, honing his fighting skills only to escape capture. He was quickly arrested by local law enforcement. Taisho Japan practiced a 3-flesh penalty, 3 carved marks on the body meant cutting off hands and feet and exile. But the judging official knew his family's situation, just gave him a beating and released him, without making things harder. That day, Hakuji still got the medicine. His neighbor came running frantically, to protect Hakuji from implication. His father had committed suicide, leaving a note. Medicine is expensive, yet I'd willingly help you steal it back. Father, what can I use to keep you with me? From that day, Hakuji's actions became more extreme. The official had reluctantly exiled him. In a distant land, he met the first person he'd never been able to defeat, the master of the Soria karate school. The master took Hakuji in, taught him martial arts. He had a beautiful, sickly daughter who got along very well with Hakuji. Hakuji grew. On the day he came of age, the master announced he could graduate, and hoped Hakuji would marry his daughter and inherit the Soria school. Hakuji agreed. He'd never felt warmth like this, like a family. His life was finally going to be all right. In a spring rain, Hakuji returned to his hometown. He came back to report to his father's spirit. From now on he could live with his head held high, do what he loved, marry the girl he loved, and he would become the happiest person. He paid his respects and returned to the school. The whole journey had taken less than 2 days. Coming back, he found the Soria school's entrance crowded with people. His heart seized. He pushed through the crowd and saw his master and his betrothed lying on the ground, eyes closed. The Soria school grounds had been coveted by a group of samurai. The master refused to sell. They poisoned the well. Hakuji had been lucky, attending his father's memorial had spared him. But some people were alive and yet already dead. That day the person called Hakuji died. The demon named Akaza came alive. He killed every samurai involved in the murder with his bare hands, nearly died himself from his injuries. In his days, he seemed to hear someone speaking in his ear, "Hakuji, everyone starts as an infant. We grow slowly under the protection of the strong." That was his master's voice. "Akaza, do you want to live?" Muzan crouched before him, offering a handful of blood. In the days, he drank Muzan's blood. He wanted to live, wanted to hear his master's guidance one more time, wanted to go back and see his betrothed, wanted the Soria school's name to spread across the world. Muzan's blood gave him a second life, and made him forget why he'd wanted to live. He only remembered become strong but forgot what the strength was for. Now, within Enmu's dream, his betrothed waved to him from the other shore. The master smiled warmly, as if waiting for him to come say hello. And his father, his complexion looked a little better. Had the medicine worked? Master. Koyoki. Father. Akaza walked unhesitatingly toward the other shore. Behind him, Muzan desperately tried to grab hold of him, but couldn't catch the hem of his sleeve. In reality, Chunlai waited quietly. No one present dared attack the compass needle-expanded Akaza. This headless demon had no more weak points in this moment. No son in the Infinity Castle. A demon who didn't even fear decapitation, that was no longer a demon, but an entirely new form of life. His fighting spirit is rapidly diminishing, Toji Fushiguro said suddenly. Chunlai nodded almost imperceptibly. The next moment, the headless Akaza moved. Everyone tensed. Tanjiro, who'd opened Transparent World, was massively depleted, he couldn't rise again. If Akaza wanted to kill anyone, everyone present was a lamb for slaughter. Chunlai's 3 were no exception. Yet Akaza moved, his fist turning toward his own heart. Toward his own neck wound. He slammed himself, like a gorilla, in wild self-destruction. I already lost. Stop regenerating. I lost. Muzan, stop holding me back from reuniting with my family. You piece of garbage. Blue fist wind shattered the regenerating body. Akaza fell to the ground. A single red drop of blood separated from within him. Akaza's blood, unique, free from Muzan's influence, free from demonic weakness, the ultimate being possessing inexhaustible fighting spirit and undying life force. Fighting spirit inexhaustible, life force inextinguishable. Value, 30 million yuan. Launch notes 621 characters. August 31, 2025. The novel officially launches tomorrow at noon with 5 chapters, followed by 5 chapters every day after that until the author burns out. This novel created many firsts for the author, first time on Sanjeong recommendations, first time accumulating 1,000 monthly votes. All of this is the reader's grace. I know I can never fully repay it. The only way to repay readers is with updates. No more extra talk, let the story decide everything. Extra update rules: every 1,000 monthly votes equals an extra 10,000 character chapter. Same for a Grand Alliance leader, though I don't think that'll happen. Finally, thanks to my editor Y, who helped me enormously, answered many questions, and secured the recommendation, deeply grateful. And a dedication to my fellow authors also exploring possibilities in words: Sue Sanshi's novel Lumingfei, Become the Elden King, Lumingfei Wandering the Lands Between, a good read. Panda Rangers Stars and Seas, starting from hand-building a rocket engine, Sci-Fi Channel, academic research fiction. My Little Southern Mother, Playing with a Meme, He Knows, whose viral launch story has spread across the internet. He's currently writing a fun cultivation novel, Is Your Immortal Cultivation Right? 1977, self-study for college entrance exams, shocking everyone, a return to the past era story. Earth Immortal Ancestor, Immortal Cultivation Xianxia, author appears to be a reincarnated elder. Crossing into American comics but as a secret disciple, light novel, American comics fusion with esoteric elements and disco aesthetics, a niche track for those on the right wavelength. Mixing in World War II as a soul-like vampire, Bloodborne, Hunger and Void, Elden Ring in World War II setting, maximum fusion energy, for those who enjoy these elements. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Novels Wonderland.